it's possible to chat with the other people. All right, so we've opened up a new live stream. I don't know if this is going to work to get people into this live stream from the other one, but let's see. Let's see if we can possibly maybe go in here. I'm gonna try to do this. I'm gonna try to go into this here.
Post a link.
Yeah.
Maybe post it on Facebook or something.
Yeah, hold on. YouTube Studio Beta. I don't know if I can get into that chat. Okay. Let me see. I don't know if it's possible. Okay, well, let's try it this way. All right, well, hopefully we're getting people coming into this chat, so we'll see. But anyways, I'm gonna, shall we do some, I don't know, can we maybe, Puya, are you able, do you think, to just log into this one real quick and then tell people?
Yeah.
Into this one?
Yeah.
In here?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, okay. So while I have Puya doing it, if you just go under
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, how would I
log in on your own Gmail?
Yes.
Oh, wait, here, check. Okay. If you put in, just type in, say, I've opened up a new stream, if you could go to the new one. And then I don't have the actual link, so.
We can get a stream link.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's find out where we get a stream link. Oh, looks like someone's waiting.
Hey.
In here. Hi. How's the Tenderloin?
Hi, Camilo. Okay, so hi. I guess we're on. We got people over. Yay!
Yay!
Okay, so Puya's going to work on some of the technical issues right now and try to let people know in the other chat. And if you're in the other chat, please let people know to try and come on to this. We're going to try to get a link so that we could get it to you so you guys can join the live stream. We had something strange happen where the chat would not work in the other live stream, so we had to open up a new one.
Puya, you can type this link in right there.
So, how's the Tenderloin Street at? Let's answer that question.
Ooh, that's tough.
So,
which Tenderloin Street?
So, okay, I will say that in general, Tenderloin, I think if you live there and you're familiar with the area, you will sort of be comfortable. But as a tourist, I think you will feel sort of uncomfortable walking around at night in that area. Now, I'm gonna actually ask Nathan and Puya, Nathan, to kind of talk to it a little bit because he lives thereabouts around that neighborhood, so he's probably a little bit more familiar with it. What would you say?
Well, so I live in the Tender Gulch, which is Tenderloin adjacent. It's right on Geary Street, Geary and Polk. And many times I'm walking from the Civic Center BART station, which is at 8th and Market, through the Tenderloin to my home. And yes, it always gives me pause to be careful of my surroundings. There's a lot of people who think that I want to buy all manner of pharmaceutical prescriptions that I don't need.
Yeah.
So the truth is, it's a very urban experience.
Yeah.
And if you're, especially if you're probably a young woman and walking alone, it might feel very unsafe. Even as a man walking alone, it feels unsafe.
Yeah.
If you're with a group of people or out on a date, you could probably have a better time. There are lots of great places, obviously, to go explore. Wonderful venues, bars, nightclubs, and whatnot. But yeah, walking at night, not a pleasant. I've never personally had a problem. I know Puya has a story he can share, other than people trying to sell me things that I don't want.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in general, it's advisable for you to do sort of door to door. So if you can, do an Uber or a Lyft is probably the best way. So Camilo, I don't know if that helps answer your question for you. It just sort of another thing, there's one, which is the feeling of being safe or unsafe,
right.
But two, I mean, how really crime Are you going to get accosted?
Yeah.
How do people feel?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wish maybe
Well,
Puya can
the
share.
truth of the matter is the neighborhood historically, well, I feel that the neighborhood has a very rich history, and I encourage everyone, if you are visiting San Francisco, if you're curious to know more about Tenderloin, for the first time, visit it during the daylight hour and go to Tenderloin Museum or go to Tenderloin Walking Tour, which would be held every day, I think, at 2 p.m. from Tenderloin Museum. There are so many beautiful gems around the area. And I personally, the first Thursday of every month in Tenderloin, they have a art walk, which is the galleries. They're all local, I would say, with great arts. I mean, and it's constantly rotating the exhibitions. You could go in, you could have a drink. The first Thursdays, I personally call it Tenderloin Awareness Day. So actually, we invite guests, we invite people who live in San Francisco to get to know more about the neighborhood. Do not go at night for the first time. It could be shocking, but in the same time, I think Tenderloin is the area has its own culture. Yes, and of course, because of what it has been through throughout the history, it does have its own level of crime, and you just have to be more cautious compared to some other neighborhoods. But I think it's a great place, and I highly encourage the walking tour because it has a very rich history.
So for tourists, definitely something to check out in the daytime, but definitely do, Uber or Lyft door to door. Thank you for the question. Okay, so Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa. How are you? So we have a question from Vanessa.
Okay, what area in Toronto are you from, and which high school did you attend?
I grew up in North York, and I went for 1 or 2 years to St. Joseph's Morrow Park, which is an all-girls Catholic high school, before I moved here to the Bay Area. So I grew up in Toronto, but I haven't been back in a long, long time. But if any of you have seen some of my videos with my good friend John, John is also from North York, and he goes back quite often. That's so wonderful. Yeah.
How did Vanessa find out that you're from Toronto? I didn't know.
I mentioned it. I mentioned it in my first live stream.
Oh, you did? Okay.
All right. Well, so I see we have more people on. Hello. Welcome. Yes. Vanessa, thanks for the question. And so we have sort of definitely feel free to get involved with the chat, send us your questions. We'll answer almost anything. But I think for this chat, we also thought we would talk a little bit about this one article. Hi, Kirsten. We thought we'd talk about this one article that we read, and actually this is sort of a recurring theme with a lot of people who come and visit San Francisco. So we thought we would talk about it a little bit from sort of a local's point of view, which is that there's this perception, this reputation that San Francisco gained as having kind of dirty streets. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about that. So from my perspective, I think a lot of these articles really talk about the whole downtown area. If you actually go outside of downtown, I don't really see too much of that. I think a little bit, if you go a little bit towards Mission, sometimes you get that a little bit in Mission, but it's mostly downtown. And where I think there is this perception, so a couple of things. What's sort of unique about San Francisco is that downtown really is the center of the tourist business, which is kind of unusual because if you go to most other cities, like I think if you go to like LA or other places, their downtowns don't tend to be like the central tourist spots. So I think it's a little bit more higher profile here in San Francisco, and that's why people see it and they kind of like comment it. Hi, Jamies, how are you? So that's the first thing. And then we were kind of chatting about this before we started the live stream, but I think also a couple of things. The two things that people complain about most, garbage. 2, poop, to put it delicately. And 3, people have commented too about needles, having needles kind of littering the streets. So we're kind of take those one by one. So first of all, I think in terms of cleaning, Nathan, you kind of had some input about that.
Well, I was looking it up. I mean, so the truth is the city
Yeah.
does clean the streets. And, you know, we realize that when you have 800,000 people living in a city or more, and so many of them are concentrated in downtown, you're going to have a certain level of mess that you have to clean up on a regular basis. So regular street cleanings, sidewalk cleanings, there are community benefit districts that hire workers to actually go pick up trash and keep the streets clean. So it does happen. The problem is it doesn't happen enough, and there's not enough awareness around people just cleaning up after themselves. So, you know, litter is a big problem. And then, of course, especially in certain neighborhoods, drug use is a big problem. So people are using needles. And we have a question from Jamie's.
Oh, great.
It's the...
Yeah, that's definitely true too. I've seen it both in conservative news media. Also, unfortunately, the regular mainstream news media, I get that a little bit too. And then I think, you know, people who live here, it's sort of a love-hate thing with people. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I definitely do hear people here like, yeah, it's you know, I hate the garbage, but I love San Francisco. So it's kind of an interesting
and the problem,
love-hate thing.
Yeah, and the problem is that, like you said, the tourist district is where the highest concentration of the mess is. And so if you come to visit, that's what you see. And it's like, oh my goodness, couldn't we do something better to improve this experience, especially for people who want to come visit our beautiful city? So
that's true too. So the second thing, like we talked a little bit about, is poop, right? And so I think that there's a couple of things going on with that. Yes, I think, you know, there is some that comes from the homeless popular, the street people. But also there's, you know, San Francisco happens to have the highest concentration of dogs in the nation. And for the most part, I think people are very responsible. They clean up after their dogs, but there are definitely people who don't. And so, yes, you will once in a while come across a situation where there's poop on the sidewalk that hasn't been cleaned up. That's not necessarily human in nature. So, yeah, do you guys have any experience
we
with
have
that?
plenty. We have plenty of experience.
In my opinion, not in most of the time, though.
Awesome, Jennifer.
Yes,
that's awesome.
actually,
Which neighborhood are you guys in? Like, you got the poop patrol.
I think it's all over the town.
Yeah, it's great. It's great that people go and they clean it up.
It's actually
awesome civic service that you guys are providing. So it's great.
So the question by I'm sorry, the name of the profile started DETH. I apologize if
it's okay.
Yes. Is it better to drive or commute to San Francisco downtown from the wider Bay Area?
Okay. So I think it depends on what area of the Bay Area you are coming from. Some areas have better public transportation into the city than others. I think if you're coming in from Oakland, definitely take public transportation into San Francisco. Some parts of East Bay, I think, is okay. From the peninsula, if you're a tourist and you're coming in and it's convenient for you to go to a downtown, Caltrain is super convenient. A lot of the Caltrain stations are located right in the downtown areas of the peninsula cities. But otherwise, driving works. I had somebody ask me about kind of negotiating with a car in San Francisco. So, I mean, I think the thing to think about, traffic is issues. So if you come in and out, avoid morning and afternoon rush hours. So like you have this period between like 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. when it's good to drive to and from San Francisco. And then parking. So parking is always an issue, but I think if you try something like Spot Hero or one of those parking services, you can reserve spaces in advance, and then it's not so crazy to try and find parking up here.
Yes, and I just would like to add these comments that parking your car in San Francisco could be very dangerous. There's break-ins happen kind of pretty frequent. It's decreased.
Highest. Well, it was the highest of all time last year, was it?
I don't remember information about that one at the moment. So Vanessa's curious to know that also I'm from the Toronto area.
Yay. Hi, Vanessa. Yay, fellow Tito person.
Yes, the Warriors is Vanessa's favorite team.
Yeah, I love Warriors
Any
too.
chance of a vlog on the Chase Center and the surrounding area?
Ah,
just opened a few weeks ago with so
interesting.
many beautiful arts, sculptures.
All right, I'll put that on the list, Vanessa. Thank you for the suggestion.
It's beautiful. So the next question is, the next comment is from Jennifer. The whole of the city, it's funded through London Breed. Yes.
From the cleanup or what?
Well, Jennifer has also commented after. The focus is Civic Center.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about the poop patrol.
Yes. Okay, great. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense because I think that's really where some of the perception of that mess is from. So it's great that people are taking it in their hands to clean up and help take care of that.
Could Jennifer, could you post a link to anything regarding that? Maybe some people, like-minded civic people would like to participate, because I definitely want to know more about this.
Yes. So the next question is by Jamie's. Started with, spends most of my life in the South Bay, but I've been in Sacramento for the last few years. I really want to live in San Francisco. Craigslist seems kind of sketchy. Any other options to look for rooms for rents? I encourage a lot of Facebook groups. I personally, I found a room for only $512 a month in Hayes Valley from Craigslist.
Hayes Valley is a great place to live, by the way.
Never trust 100%, but always give a chance, because it's a rent-controlled city, and if anybody wants to share their house with someone else, the amount of the rents they are paying would be shared. So there would be some options. It depends. Yes.
Well, I think that works. And then I don't know if you guys know, I don't know how accurate it is, but there is a website called MLS.com which tracks all housing, both sale as well as rentals. So you can check into that.
Well, may I add a comment to this? Because actually I just moved this year, and Puya helped me, and we used Zillow. So you can actually filter your search just for rentals.
Oh, yeah. Zillow's starting to do that too.
And it's actually a great, there are plenty of listings. It's a great service. When I compared it to Craigslist, I did find sketchy posts. I did find actually fraudulent posts
on Craigslist. Yeah, you gotta be super careful with Craigslist.
And they look too good to be true. It's like a one-bedroom loft, studio loft in Soma for $2,900, and you're like, it's like just enough below the normal price to be like, wow, someone has a one-bedroom for $2,900. I want to live there. It's totally fraudulent, because a one-bedroom for that quality is going to be at least $5,000.
So I want to stop here and say hi to a couple of viewers who just came on. So hi, Jennifer. Hi, Cookie. And hi, Aaron. I see you there. So hi to all the new people who just got on. I'm sorry if I missed you, but so we have more questions.
Jennifer's also informed us cars are banned at Market Street.
Yes, thank you for that, Jennifer. That's a new thing.
Yes, $600 million project.
Yeah.
Yes, Kristen O'Neill have commented there's an app, poop tracking, an app on the website.
We were just talking about this. So this app is called
a Snap Crap.
One of the app stuff. Yes.
So I believe what you do is you take a snap of the crap, and then you say where the crap is at.
But I think that's in every city, to be honest. It's in Oakland, it's in San Jose, it's in Los Angeles, it's in New York. Yes.
So there was a Cookie had a, where in SF do you notice going the most? So Cookie, do you want to just clarify what you mean by that, by going the most? Like, you mean going like where we find poop the most, or
going out to have fun?
Going out to have fun. Either way, let us know. Yes, Jamie's, it's being banned. So I think already not a ton of cars have been driving on Market anyways, because that stretch of San Francisco is always super congested, and there's buses.
Been very troublesome.
Very troublesome. There's buses going down there all the time, the streetcars, taxis, and you can only drive in the side street anyways. So yes, it is, and I think it will make getting across Market tough. But as far as driving on Market, that was already, I think, problematic.
Yeah.
Yes. Cookie's asking, do you guys work in tech?
Yes.
So
good question.
I don't. I drive for Lyft and Uber at the moment, and I'm going to City College of San Francisco.
Yeah.
I want to start. There's a program in San Francisco Library. I want to become a volunteer tour guide, and
So
yes.
you're getting some practice here.
Yes, I am. Actually,
Yeah.
from her videos, I get so many information, especially about the wonderful eateries.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I actually used to work in tech a long time ago. Well, not that long, but I quit it to do YouTube because I really just got kind of sick of the corporate chill, honestly. And I wanted to be able to do something that I'm passionate about. So that's why I am now doing YouTube, and I'm doing travel because I love travel. I love helping people out with itineraries and discovering kind of the best places to go here in San Francisco and making it a great vacation for them. And actually, Nathan and I used to work together.
Yes, we worked in tech together.
Yeah,
so
we did.
I currently do still work in tech. I work at a startup in South of Market, so classic story.
Yeah.
Yes. So Jamie's asked, San Francisco City College is over by Hunters Point, right? They have a location there, but it's not a main campus.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
They have satellite
Awesome.
campuses all throughout the city. Chinatown, Mission, Hunters Point.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we'll give Puya a chance to look at the questions here. So if you want to take a look and then let us know when you got some questions. But so the last part, kind of getting back to our conversation about dirty streets, the last part is the needles. So yes, there are needles, but I think if you want to look at it, don't look at it in a vacuum. So I think the bigger picture is that San Francisco, being a progressive city, we're trying to battle a little bit with disease from needles. And so one of the things that the city tried to implement a couple of years ago was this giveaway needle program, so that people who are on the streets and who are addicted to drugs can get clean needles. If they're going to shoot up, at least shoot up with something clean. And I think, yes, that does tend to perpetuate needles on the streets.
Yeah. And it's clear, like if you especially walk down Market Street or walk through the Tenderloin, I have on more than one occasion watched people actually shooting up on the street. It's a very sad sight, and it's only comforting to know that there are services that are helping these people, and they use harm reduction techniques, which is to give them what they need so they don't harm themselves further, and probably teaching them some tools to reduce their dependency on that. But there is still a lot of drug use, and I think the FDA is actually cracking down specifically on the Tenderloin. There's a lot of like mafia and gang control over drug distribution in the Tenderloin that they've identified, and a lot of them are coming. The sellers are coming from the East Bay, called commute dealers, where they come over on BART and then hang out in the Tenderloin selling stuff. So there's been a big crackdown on that and an investigation. So,
but I think a lot of the destinations are also changing. There was a park; it used to be the area for the cartels to sell their drugs, and it was filled with crime. But right now, the park is a place for education. They have a community garden. The children could go there after school to spend some time for free.
They closed it down and they remodeled this one huge park in the middle of the Tenderloin, so that it's really a beautiful place and a safe place for people to go now, rather than the drug-infested place it used to be. So there are changes happening, but not fast enough.
And then we were also kind of taking a look at the budget, and I think Nathan looked it up. And we're spending like
$65 million a year goes to cleaning the streets, which is actually double what it used to be only 5 years ago, $33 million. But out of the entire city budget is $10 billion. This is less than 0.5%, or barely 0.5% of the budget that goes to street cleaning. And so what the Department of Sanitation has to deal with are people calling in requesting cleaning services. So they get 150,000 people calling every year asking for their streets to be cleaned, which their taxes pay for, so why not? Dial 311. If you live in the city, they have a helpline. It goes directly to the city, and you can request anything, and you can report anything. So
Jamie's had kind of a comment, which is great. Awesome, especially if you're an SF resident, right? So she says it can get kind of rough walking down there, so just walk with your head up and act like you belong. Absolutely. So I think a lot of people kind of hang out there, but for the most part, they won't they won't come up and bother you if you look like you're not going to. Just don't make eye contact.
Don't make eye contact, number one.
Yeah.
But they will hawk their wares. They are there to make money, and they think you're a customer.
The truth of the matter is the number of people you see in Tenderloin, because historically for decades that neighborhood, the SROs and small apartments, that neighborhood is filled with those units. So many people, because their living space is very small, they come outside and they hang out outside.
Yeah, that's
So
definitely
it's
one
necessary.
reason why they're out on the streets a lot.
I think most of them, they're not even homeless.
They're locals.
True.
And so this is a unique phenomena to Tenderloin. Definitely you're going to see a lot of like gangs, or not gangs, but they're groups of people that just kind of hang out on the sidewalk and they're just socializing. Honestly, they're just hanging out. So that happens a lot.
And
thank you, Jennifer. I love you too. So she was saying 4th and Market, right, is still a problem. Absolutely. So it's not just that Tenderloin area, but it also extends down into Soma. There's like definitely areas of Soma that can be a little bit rough. Yeah,
that's true. Yes, Jennifer's also asking where was this. I think Jennifer's asking about the location of the park. Do you know what was the name and location of the park?
Shoot.
Yes, we could see it
I can look it up discreetly over to the side.
And Jamie's is asking for some market where the mall is at. Yes, I think.
Yeah. So Jamie, where Westfield Mall is, I think if you go to, what is that, your east of the mall is okay, but west of the mall is, and it's so weird because it's almost like a delineation. Like literally there's a street. And this side's super nice.
Well,
and this side's super not nice.
And it's becoming gentrified. And so that's called MidMarket. That whole area from like the Westfield Shopping Center to Van Ness is going through a massive gentrification. Developers are building new condominiums, new apartment buildings. We used to live in one of the new apartment buildings on the corner of 8th and Market. And so I would give it another 5 to 10 years before it really cleans up, but it's in the middle of transformation right now.
Yes. Jennifer's asking if the name of the park, I think possibly was Bodecker.
Is it Bodecker?
I'm thinking it could be. I'm thinking it's.
We'll let you know.
Yeah. We'll look it up. So if anybody has any last questions, otherwise we'll wrap it up. We'll do like 30 minutes today. Anyone? Okay. We have one more comment. Hi, Mateo. One of your favorite restaurants. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's lots of awesome restaurants around that area. And I have not been to that one. I don't know if these guys have been to that one at all.
I think it is Bodecker Park.
Thank you, Jennifer. Bodecker.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, Father Alfred Bodecker Park. Yes, you were right.
Yeah. And then Jamie's was asking if we've ever been to Puccini and Panetti. I have not been to that one.
No.
Yeah. Thanks for the recommendation.
Where
we'll have to try that one.
What neighborhood? We have to go.
She says it's generally in your area.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, we haven't been there.
We'll look it up, Jennifer. All right. Okay. And then last comments about the whole moniker "Dirty Streets of San Francisco." Any
the last comment is San Francisco, like every other city, have its own challenges.
Yeah.
I feel the city relatively could be maybe compared to the other large cities, maybe in a higher scales of problem in that aspect, but I think it's still a beautiful city, and I'm sure that it will eventually change because as a resident of San Francisco, I love the city so much, and I will try to change that as well, as far as I could. If I see it, I will pick it up.
Yeah, and just to kind of go off of what Puya is saying, get out of that area. I know that's really great to go there because it's central. You've got Union Square, you've got museums there, you've got Yerba Buena. There's like awesome retail and restaurants and eats and all this other stuff. But go outside. There's so much more of San Francisco to see. And those areas are all, in my opinion, super clean. So,
super clean. But my advice from living in the area is to watch your step, but look up, because the city is beautiful and the architecture is beautiful, and it's at least 100 years old, some of these buildings. So enjoy what you see, but just watch where you step.
All right, so I think we're gonna end that at that today. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we will do another one of these next month. And if you guys love this, let us know in the comments, because we're thinking about, this is a pilot right now. That's why we're only doing it once a month. But if this is valuable to you guys, we're thinking of making this a little bit more frequent when we start hitting tourist season in January. So let us know. All right.
Yes. Thank you all for your great comments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.